Welcome to Over the BS. I'm Sadé.
And I'm Blair.
And today we have a special guest on today. She is named Stacy Ike. She is beautiful. She is talented. She is everything, okay? Now, this woman knows a whole lot about self-care and hustle. She's an esteemed journalist. She was selected by Oprah herself to be the first live show host on the Oprah Winfrey Network to talk to cast members from Greenleaf and other amazing shows. And when Stacy isn't chopping it up on the red carpet with all of your favorite stars, she's uplifting other creators with her own brand, Fight for Your Fairy Tale, as well as hosting candid conversations with human to human. So we are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. What an introduction. Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I mean, those are your accolades, your wins. We had to list all of them, okay? Now, like I mentioned earlier, you are a huge proponent of managing self-care, but you know a whole lot about hustle. Why do you think it's so important to include self-care as part of your brand?
I think that we forget how human we are. We forget to connect in our humanity. Sometimes the hustle can be distracting and can make sure that, we all feel like that's the most important thing. And although it is very important, it's not as important as us making sure we're taking care of ourselves, our relationships, our friendships, our family, ourselves. So I definitely feel like it's a big part of me growing into my hustle and growing into it more and realizing like, ooh, the more special part about my hustle is the fact that I hustle from here first because I've taken care of myself.
Yeah. And was self-care always part of your brand? It's very forward on your Instagram now. You can see it on your website. You create videos around it, but was it always a real prevalent part of your message or part of your online persona and image?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's always something that I've cared about, believed in, but I've never actually fully invested in. I think definitely the pandemic gave us all the time to figure out what are those things within ourselves that we've actually had to put down or not pay attention to or not gotten to take the time to do. And I was so big on the hustle, I didn't always take time to prioritize the self-care. So because of that journey and that realization, I really had to make sure it was loud and clear to everybody else. This is important. Please do this. We need to take care of ourselves as much as possible. So I wouldn't say it's always been on the forefront, but it has been something I've cared about. So I'm grateful now to be able to infuse that into everything I do.
That's important. But Stacy, we want to know, what does self-care mean to you?
Wow. So at the end of the day, I think it's ever evolving, because what you need today, you might not need tomorrow, right? So currently self-care is making sure to really manage my relationships, the close ones I have, really keeping in touch with the people around me, pouring into them as they pour into me. It is eating well. It is making sure to actually cook my food. And
Yes.
That is so, I enjoyed that so much. I really didn't even realize that was something I loved until recently. It is reading, actually spending time to read. It's taking quiet time every morning. It's stretching. It's doing yoga. It's all these new things that I'm just oh my God, I love this. And all these things help me be the better version of myself. And so for me, that is the current version of it. But in a year, it could change. It could be something totally different. It could be travel. It could be, what I love about self-care is it's an evolving journey of how do I take care of the person I am today. And that's why I'm it's actually not as difficult as we might seem and think, because we think I have to find time. It's no, you are important. So prioritize that time to take care of yourself and make sure you're good.
Yeah. And self-care, it's obviously the weekends and there's always time to have self-care for yourself, but there's some times where you're just so busy and it's really hard to balance self-care and the hustle. So are there some activities that you do just in the moment? I know you're on set right now. Is there some times where you just have to take a moment and just do something specifically?
Yeah, that's really good. I love that question. I do think that because sometimes the world we resolve around busy, that it's not really built for self-care. It's not really built for taking those moments. But what I think the one thing I've just imparted, I don't think there's one specific, activity I have. The truth is what I've learned to activate in every space is to trust my instinct and to trust myself more. So in a space, if I feel overwhelmed, I take a second. I don't need to explain why I'm overwhelmed. I don't need to ask for permission. I just need to say, I need a minute, and I go take that. I think that's the only thing. There is no one thing. I think that the main priority in finding your self-care is just trusting yourself more and more and more. And I'm also huge on water. So I have my gallon of water outside, and I like gotta have that, because sometimes you just gotta take a deep breath, take the water in. But other than that, it's like just trusting yourself. I think that's the main thing.
Yes, cleanse the inside and the out.
Yes, for real.
And I would love to know, how did you, because that is a boss move at the same time, to be able to be like, hey, I need a moment. How did you grow into that? And I guess also have the confidence and I guess know to be like, hey guys, I need a minute. And so I can collect myself or get things together.
Yeah.
How did you able to grow into that confidence to say that and own the set,
Right. I think the biggest part of growing into it is just realizing how much, like, we all profess to self-love, right? We all say, like, I love myself, but you love yourself, but you don't take care of yourself. You love yourself, but you don't eat like right the way you want to. You love yourself, but you never trust your instinct. You love yourself, but you always feel like you're wrong. It's like, that started to annoy me. I'm like, but I said I love myself, but I don't take time to figure out what I need. That's crazy. Yeah. So I think it's just literally that fact, or that moment, I just felt like I was so faced with. I was like, what is self-love? Like, what is truly caring about who you are? And it's about knowing when to take time to just take care of yourself, even in the midst of craziness. I know not in every business or in every capacity or every setting you can take a minute, or you can go, leave set or take the day off. I know that's not always possible, but I just think it's important to, as much as you can put it at the forefront, do so, and just trust that. Like, I don't want to be in a position or any type of job or career or setting where if I say I'd take a minute, people get mad. That's not the right setting for me. That's just point blank. I think it's like just realizing, like, what is the best places for me to activate who I am. And it's the places where I trust myself and other people trust themselves. And it's this beautiful, like, oh, if this person needs something, then they really need it. I think it's been a growing process for sure. Definitely the pandemic put more into that. But I think that's been something I've cared about for a while, actually, just because I've always curated the team around me. I've always curated, like, not every single job necessarily, but I do lead with who I am in the beginning. So I feel like people are aware of, oh, okay, she's cool, she's real. She's gonna say what she wants to say. She's gonna be honest. She's gonna be respectful. She's gonna be loving. And that's who she is. So if anything happens outside of that, okay, this person's making sure she gets back to who she is. Like, that's it. Mm-hmm. So it's a learning process. It's not over. I'm still, oh my gosh, like, even little things like emails, guys. When you send an email, you're like, I was just following up. Delete just. I am following up. Period. Yeah. Nothing to stress about. You're not being rude. It's not impolite. You're following up. Like, little things like that. And
wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't think about that. We don't think about that. I just wanted to check in. No.
I'm checking in.
I'm checking in. That's it. I'm checking in. Woo! You gotta really think about that. There's no need to be muting ourselves and shrinking ourselves for other human beings. We're all human beings.
Yeah. Something about that. It does not, obviously it's not that major, but you just saying that is just like, wow, it can make such a big difference. Just how you look at yourself.
Such a big difference. I'm telling you, it doesn't feel major, but I'm telling you, I catch myself every single time I say, and I click, 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 click. Do not say do not say, I wanted to, just be, and trust yourself. That's the thing. We don't trust our fullness of our words. We think, oh, somebody's judging us in this. And that's probably, it's all possible. It's just, I just want to lead from what I think about myself first.
Yeah.
And I want us all to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, what it does make me think of, though, is we are surrounded in this culture where everyone's like, rise and grind and, ditties 24/7, you can sleep when you die sort of culture. Do you think there are other means of getting success besides, the old school rise and grind sort of hustle in the beginning?
Yeah. It's interesting. That's an interesting question, because my 6 years in LA thus far were a lot of the rise and grind, was a lot of the hustle, was a lot of making sure to move fast and be everywhere and all that kind of stuff. There were definitely hills and valleys of, oh, let me take a step back and I don't need to do this. I don't need to. But for the most part, it was definitely a full on, grind. But I think in this, I've always been unattractive to the fullness of the rise and grind mentality, because I think a lot of it is using this finger. right? You need to wake up and you need to do this. And I think the way to adjust that is we need to do this. And I've been working on this. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. And we can do this and we can do that. I think that's what to me changes the rise and grind mentality, because I remember when people were talking about the rise and grind mentality in the beginning of the pandemic, and I went crazy. I was like, okay, we're not about to start telling people to figure out their lives in the middle of a pandemic when none of us have been here. That is not, that's not connection. That's just, it just doesn't work to me. And so I personally do believe there are different ways, because I think everybody's definition of success is different. And I think we should allow and love on people who have different definitions of success, because some people's success is like, I want a healthy relationship. I want to make sure I raise my kids in a certain way. I want to make sure that my bank account looks a certain way. Whatever those things are, and whatever steps people are taking to get them, that's on them. And so our job as humanity and people is to just celebrate people's version of that, and to encourage, not necessarily to say like, okay, if you decide your level of success is laziness, then like we support you. No, not that. But it's also to encourage, not to like provoke or to shame. You know, we that rise and grind mentality sometimes is rooted in some like, oh, you just chilled, like that's not gonna work. It's like, that's not gonna work for who? They're not asking you for your opinion. If you want to encourage and inspire, do so. But other than that, not really feeling it.
Yeah, I really loved what you said, because I felt like, especially at the beginning of this pandemic, everyone's like, yeah, well, this is the time to finish your screenplay. This is the time to learn that activity right at the beginning. And I was like, I feel like I can't breathe in a sense with everything that's going on. And of course, there's civil unrest, which is literally like, we've got a lot on our shoulders. So I think that's such a good point to re-examine and just acknowledge what your own success is, and there's no need to push that onto anyone else. In that same light, especially with all of us being creatives and, you know, the creative rise and grind culture, how do you think creatives should speak to their employees or coworkers about self-care if, you know, that hustle mentality isn't for them, but they're in this workspace and they're trying to balance that? Do you have any advice or tips on how to command that?
Ooh, I'm still learning, honestly. I think even for me, because I also have worked with so many different creatives and in creative spaces, I've never had a corporate job. So I've never actually been in a full, like, this is what my schedule looks like. And, you know, to be honest, and I share a lot of that, like, understanding through my friends' experiences or my family's experience or whatever, because I love to learn about all versions of like how we all, you know, create and do work and things like that. But for me personally, that hasn't necessarily been my experience. I still have to figure it out, because I do like 6-week jobs or 2-week jobs or whatever those things are, and it still requires that. But I think at the end of the day, my current advice for that is trusting yourself to be honest. You know, if you start out, especially when you show up for a job in this day and age, and you don't start with, hey, what are the, you know, mental health benefits when it comes to my insurance? You know, what does it look like if I take Fridays off? Like, I just want to know if I leave at 2 p.m., you know, do you need me to stay on Monday till 7 so I can leave at 2, or whatever my day is? I also have a huge weird relationship with Mondays. I know if you're in a corporate environment, Mondays is like go day. Girl, I am not your Monday girl at all. Like, seriously, Monday for sure. Like, but catch me on a Friday and I'm like hustling and doing all emails and catching up on everything. It's crazy, right? But it's like my personal schedule. And I'm also just learning to be more honest with myself, because I don't want to start trying to do and be anything that I'm not. I don't mind learning the skills to be able to adapt. That's one thing. I think we should all learn those skills, but also how do we be the best version of ourselves, right? And so I think it's just starting with honesty. I know that every corporate culture is not built for that, but I think in this day and age, I think it's okay to ask. I think it's just okay to put your ask out there. That's I think my main belief at this moment is I believe you can ask, you know, because I just don't feel like who's about to fire you because you decided you care about yourself. Like what?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say times have definitely changed, because I feel like long ago, you know, those hustle jobs, I worked at Hollister and I remember asking one of the other managers for a personal day. She said no. And I was like, I am so stressed. I immediately started crying. And everyone was like, what's wrong with you? I was just like, I just needed one day off and I can't get in. Yeah. I don't think that, you know, that's probably why they're going through hell right now and have been for the past, like, I don't know, 7 years. But yeah, I think just getting that ask is so important, even in the beginning, to know if this place is even really for you. So I love that point that you brought up.
Yeah. That's right.
My first job was Hollister too. Sorry, I had to say that. I know it's horrible, allegedly. But I do have to say, one thing that you said that really hit me was that you've been in LA for 6 years. And for me personally, I feel like when I first moved here, I was literally not getting sleep when I'd do red carpets and like edit and try to get it up right away. And no one was asking me to do that. It was just something in my brain because that hustle mentality that Sadé brought up about you 24 hours a day, you can't stop, you can rest when you're dead. I just want to know from you, did you figure that out when you first moved here that, why am I bugging about certain things when I can get this done after I get a rest, after the weekend? Did you feel comfortable pushing things back?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. I was definitely about all the hustle, especially, I understand it. The pressure, you just moved there. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Muskegon, Michigan.
Right. So like LA is not your home. You come out there, bills have to get paid. You have to eat. Somebody's got to make sure that this was not like this crazy decision you made that made no sense. So I understand the hustle. I understand why you got to put that. And honestly, I don't even think I have a problem with it. I think sometimes more of a perspective change towards the hustle, right? Like the hustle can't be rooted in us just hustling ourselves to the ground. I'm trying to hustle up, not hustle down. Right. So like, I don't want to be hustled and then bags under my eyes and I'm tired and I never have any relationships. I never call any of my friends. I have no connection to myself. Like that's not the hustle I want anymore. And I think there's a way to do that hustle with still, keeping the grind alive, making sure you are at red carpets, blah, 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 but also just knowing what the cap is for you. So let's say if you do 5 red carpets a week, you're like, you know what, listen, I actually only watch these movies. I only invest in these type of projects. So let me just be real with myself and go to 3 and make sure I have the best work. Now, that's going to be different for everybody because truly I was everywhere. So no, I did not figure it out when I first got there. And I'm still working on that because some days you're like, damn, I just want to. But again, just like kind of learning that balance and just the balance of making sure that I don't want to sleep when I'm dead. I want to sleep while I'm alive. Like I want to enjoy it. I can wake back up and go back to sleep and wake back up and go, you know what I'm saying? I just don't want to do it like that. I want to do it where I'm here present all the time. That's the goal, right? And so that's a goal you constantly are working through, constantly refining, constantly trying to figure out and change based on how you're changing. Mm-hmm. So, I commend and understand and feel you so deep when it comes to that, like the hustle, the craziness with all of it. But yeah, I just think the perspective change is what adds to you making more decisions that are healthier for you.
Yeah. Stacy said, I'm going to need a nap sometime. I can't be doing this right
now. And sometimes, hey, listen. Adult naps need to be like a part of we need to really normalize adult naps. Like,
it be a whole culture.
Normalize adult naps because it's just like, so you want me to be up all day, just like up, just like ready. No, I need my 20-minute. I absolutely take my 20-minute nap. I sure do.
Totally.
One thing that you and Sadé said was when the pandemic first started and, people were saying like, finish your screenplays, that example. Now that everything, we're still in the midst of it. It's the end of summer, but I feel like now we're starting to get an idea that this is the downtime to pursue whatever you want to pursue, because right now some people can't even go to their jobs.
Right.
So what's your advice for people who are struggling to be inspired during this time, whether it be the pandemic or the cultural crisis?
Right. It's so difficult. And it's interesting because I think the reason I felt the way I did about the whole work on your project is because I was really hurting. I think a lot of us were hurting at the beginning of this pandemic. I know that we've also figured out our new normal. Some of us have, some of us haven't. We're still in the midst of that, right? But if you guys are talking to me today, I feel healthy. I feel happy. I actually feel like not as nervous and scared for the future. But March, no ma'am, no sir. I was just like a lot of us were, but I just want to also talk about the truth of that process because there's a lot of stages to grief and we have to be real. This was a grieving year. We really had to let go of all of our visions and allow God to give us his vision and to really show us actually it's going to look like this. It's going to be painful and hard and beautiful and introspective and connected, but it's going to be different, right? And so I encourage people to feel their way through the whole process. That's my advice on that, because I felt my way through the anger, the anxiety, the anxious, the attachment to what I knew. And then I got to the action, and then I got to the acceptance. And that's where I am, where I'm like, okay, I'm actually more in action than acceptance. I think acceptance becomes before action, but you accept okay, it's going to be a complicated year. I don't know even know what that means, but I just know it's about to be complicated, right? And then you have actions. That's why Human to Human was produced. That's why I'm in Miami working on this project, because I just started accepting the beautiful opportunities in front of me versus everything I remembered behind me. And so I just want to be, open with that process and tell people to also be open with their process of that. And it doesn't matter what stage you are in currently. It doesn't matter if it's the end of summer. It doesn't matter if it's been 5 months. It doesn't matter. Be okay with the process you're at, the stage you're at, identify it, speak it out loud, go all the way through it, because I don't ever want to go back to anxious. I don't miss it. Like, that was me in April. I don't miss it. I don't want to go back to anger. That was me in March. I'm not trying to go back. I'm so happy at action. I feel good at that because I know that I actually went through every single step. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I advise to go through the steps of whatever you're feeling, go all the way through that. And I would also advise you to affirm yourself. Like, we really be thinking affirmations are corny, and they're not. We really need to be affirming ourselves every single day because we already know the world's not going to do it for us. So please, please, please try your best to affirm yourself every single day. Literally Google, what affirmations can I use today? Every single day if you need to. Please, please invest in that part of yourself too.
I love that, because accepting it, you just you move on in a way. You grow from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Acceptance in any aspect of your life, any sort of obstacle. That's when you get to that stage, it's huge. It's like you should applaud yourself for just being able to get to that step.
Yeah.
I do want to know, are there any books, podcasts, I don't know, websites you love that you find great self-care tips? Talk about all of this, and then we can talk about human to human real quick as well.
Oh, I love that. I'm, because I'm also an entrepreneur, I love listening to this podcast called How I Built This. And they're currently doing a segment called How I Built Resilience. So a lot of these CEOs of different companies that we all either use their products or use their services, they are all talking about how they built resilience. And I think it's really great to hear, people we admire and respect talk about how they're going through what they're going through. I also listen to Robin Sharma, I think, Sharma. He's like an incredible, he has this book called The 5 a.m. Club. Solid dude. I listen to Brene Brown a lot, Toni Morrison. I'm definitely divulging myself into James Baldwin right now because I feel like he's just an inspirational. We know what he did, but I personally didn't even realize how much I needed him during this time. Obviously, this time kind of gave us, the George Floyd situation definitely pushed us into us going back and even really taking our history back and really understanding who we are at the forefront. But I've just had a great time. I feel like diving myself into his work. But yeah, I think those are the main people at this moment. My parents, my friends, they're inspirational. But yeah, those are some great podcasts I listen to right now. And I'm trying to think of some other people too. If I do, I will text them. Y'all add them in the calendar or something. But yeah, those are some.
Awesome, beautiful. And then one more question for you is just talk a little bit briefly about Human to Human, your new project that you launched during a really hard time for everyone, which is a huge feat again. So please just totally plug yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Human to Human is is definitely my baby right now, and I hope it just grows to be a beautiful teenager/adult. But it's such a great heartfelt project, and it's a really big reflection of where I am in life right now. I actually started shooting in February, and then obviously the pandemic happened. And yeah, so people have been asking me, they're like, so wait, did you fly to see your friends? I'm like, no, y'all. So I just shot the first 2 episodes in February. Sat on them for a little bit, was ready to shoot the next one. The pandemic happened. So I've been continuing to shoot the show through Zoom and through online. And it's been really great to keep that connection going. It's so necessary for us to connect right now. This is great connection. It's really important for us to do it in any way we can. And yeah, the show is really rooted in a safe space that dismantles shame, dismantles any type of fear, really promotes community, connectivity, and curiosity. That's what I care about right now. I really care about us connecting in deeper ways and making sure that we all know that we're literally all in this together. I know it doesn't seem like it. I know we all have our own experiences, but we are. What I go through, somebody else has gone through. What you guys go through, somebody else has gone through. And the more we normalize our experiences, the more we actually get to do life together, which I think is the whole point. And so that's what the show's about. There's 3 episodes out now. There'll be the 4th one's coming out this week, and I'm so excited. It comes out every Wednesday. I have incredible guests, friends of mine, also people I admire that are just so willing to go there, to really do the talking, to really, put some fire under some of these conversations, and like I said, normalize the beauty of what it is to be human, because it's not easy, it's hard, and we should really talk about that, because that's where the beauty lies, in my opinion. So yeah, they are on YouTube, they're on stacyike.com. I throw them up on Instagram, and yeah, you guys should check it out. It's fabulous.
Yes. I know. I love it so much. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you're in the middle of shooting, but we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your ministry, because you're not just a host, you were preaching today to all of us.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I'm so sorry for the background noise. If anybody who was listening was like, where is she? I am on set. Nobody cares that I was doing Zoom, so clearly I have to apologize to you guys. But thank you so much for us making this happen. And this is great. I love the title of the show, Over the BS.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. We got a little double on time, Blair and Sadé.
Literally. Love that. So good, y'all. So good.
Stacy, where can we find you on social media?
You guys can check me out on Twitter, Instagram. I'm only on Instagram, mainly on Instagram, at OneTakeStace, OneTakeStace. And you can find me at stacyike.com. Make sure you come through, because there's a lot of blogging happening.
Yes. And guys, make sure you guys follow us, Over the BS Show, on all social media. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, make sure you guys give us a good rating. Leave us a nice little review. Stacy, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much, guys. This is awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Bye.